Welcome to Clarion Connection, and today we're going to talk about money. And Bob Wareham in Knox has a tremendous coin collection, and he's amassed this over the years, and we just wanted to talk a little bit about his collection. Good morning, Bob.
Morning.
When we were talking before the show, you'd said that originally you got some coin books and some information, but your real collection kind of started and it involved monkeys.
Yeah, I was kidded quite a bit about that. I told the story 3 years ago, and I kidded about it. They always talk about the first dollar you ever earned. Well, I don't have it, but they always kidded me I did. It started out, I started when I was 9 years old. A lady gave me a coin book to fill up, and I got started in it. Well, by the time I was about 14, I had quite a few coins, and I went to a carnival. I told my mother I was going down and see him set it up. I set it up 1 block below me in town there, and I went down and watched it, and there was a big tent there. And I'd seen him set up things, and I come by the tent, and the guy came out and waved his arm to come over to see me, and I went over. He said, "You want a job?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Pay $1 a day," and that was pretty good money. So we stepped in the tent, and there was a tent. I wish I could count them, 20, 30, 40 monkeys. There was a bunch of them. So he wanted me to water his monkeys. So I carried 2 buckets at a time down and watered his monkeys for a day. And at the end of the day, he paid me $1, put it in my pocket, and I spent it. So I don't have the first dollar.
You spent it? What did you spend it on?
I don't know, but I put it in my pocket.
Okay.
And I asked the monkey man, I said, "I'm a collector of coins. Would you have any old coins?" He brought a cigar box out, and just the bottom had a few of the old V nickels, V for 5, and it was a turn of the century of 1900 nickels. And I didn't have, there was nothing in there that I really needed, and I thanked him and gave him the box back, and nothing was mentioned about old money you're paying me. He paid me the first day of the dollar, but the rest of the week he didn't pay me, nothing. Never talked about money. On the last day, Friday, he came out and he laid 4 $1 bills out there, and he said to me, "If you put these in your collection, I'll pay you with these. If you want to spend them, I'll pay you with regular dollars." Now, these were the first dollars of the small size. Up until 1928, we had big money for a big wallet. But in 28, they printed, all our money was reprinted, and they were actually released in 29. All our money is the same size today as it started in 29. But the bills were printed on the green, the backside had a big 1. They're totally different. In 35, they changed the design in the back, and it's still recognized as the same bill today, you would notice. But these first 4 years, he gave me these bills are totally different, and I still have them.
Great. And what's the main difference over the years in coins that you've seen? You've seen quite a few. You're 76?
Yes.
Yeah. So you've seen quite a few changes, I imagine.
Oh yeah. I can give you some of the history of money. Later, if we have time, I can start with money. A lot of things people don't know about money. It's up till 1857, we didn't use our own money much. Our money really came into big existence with the founding of the gold and silver, the 49ers in California for gold. We had gold coins in those days, and of course the silver was not available at the founding of our country, and so our money system was changed with a law in 1857. They outlawed foreign money. Up until that time, if you went to the store and bought money and used the money, half the money in the till would not be our own money. We used primarily Spanish. It was legal tender. The famous piece of 8 is the background of our money. That's what our money started. The first dollar was exactly the same with our own design, but it was the same weight, same thing. That was the standard of the world, was a piece of 8. Our first money, we had a half cent, and we needed it because the Spanish money was divided. A piece of 8 is 8 real, and I don't know whether you ever heard them talk about 2 bits.
Yes.
Well, that came from the Spanish. A bit is 1 real, so 2 bits is a quarter. 1 bit is 12.5 cents. We owe Thomas Jefferson, the designer of money, decimalizing your money. We have our money divided in tens, which makes it very convenient for us. Like the British have 144 pence to the pound up until 72 and hard counting. Well, the Spanish had 8 bits or 8 real to $1. Well, that's 12.5 cents, which is an odd thing. Our money was decimalized, and we had a dime, but the piece of 8, the bit, and the piece of 8 was changed, especially in the Southwest near the Mexican border. A lot of it, most of the money was Mexican or Spanish piece of 8. So,
but back then, the piece of 8 was actual. There was actual valuable metal in the coin itself.
It was our silver dollar. When we first founded our money, it was based on the piece of 8, and our first silver dollars were the same thing. But we didn't have the silver to make a lot of them, so we never kept up with our own needs until the 1870s, whenever the Nevada and the 49ers, that whole story in late history. Till 1857, it was legal tender. It was money that we spent every day. And there was some Dutch mixed in it and some foreign, but we didn't have enough money to fulfill our own needs. So it was used. And of course, the bit was 12.5 cents, not a dime. It looked like a dime, it was a little bigger than a dime, but the same as a dime, and it was used. So we had to have a half-cent piece. Well, in 1857, they passed this law which did a lot of things, and among them was they took away the foreign coins that you took in the bank. The bank sent them in, and they melted them. Actually, our money was made out of them because they melted them down and remade it into our own money.
Oh, okay.
And in 1857, and in 1857, when this came about, they no longer needed a half cent because it did away with the bit or real. The 12.5 cent piece was done. They took it away, so we don't need the half cent, so they did away with the half cent. At one time we had a half cent. But it was interesting. Our first money was based on that Spanish dollar. And of course, money in the old days, when you had money in your hand, you had your money in your hand because it was gold and silver. And I don't know how many people have seen their grandparents' old money or anything. Have seen the first cent. The first American cent was as big as a $50. You know why?
No. That's why we have you here.
When you had your money in your hand, you had your money in your hand. So a penny had to be worth a penny. And 1 cent was 1 cent's worth of copper, which was a huge piece. Not well accepted. It wasn't popular. In 1857, when they redid the monetary system, they came out with the first cent and the size we know it as today, the little penny. It was much thicker. It was made in copper nickel alloy, but it was the size of today's penny. And that's another misnomer. We don't have any pennies, you know.
Right.
We have cents.
Cents.
A penny is our English heritage. A penny is English money. And we still to this day call them pennies, but they're not. They're cents.
There isn't any copper in today's.
No, the copper in today's coin today's cent is all zinc, except they call it burl-plated. Just a thin copper coating on top. And if they lay out in the weather and they don't weather well, and they get pretty cruddy. I see a lot of pennies. I still go through pennies. I go through a box of $25 worth of pennies every week or two. I go to the bank and trade them, and they know me. And
are you looking for copper?
Well, I'm looking for errors. When you get into it, collecting coin really deep, they make a coin which you and I which the public would think would look the same. But there's fine differences. They make a mistake somewhere and make an error, and one coin is made a little different. Well, you watch for them. There's many errors that I can I'll take the whole time I'm telling you about errors.
Well, it's kind of interesting that the copper cent or penny was so large, and that today copper is so valuable. People are breaking into homes and stealing it, or businesses.
They're taking it off your transmission towers. They're always stealing that copper. Yes. It's valuable.
Well, if you hear an interruption out there, folks.
Yeah.
But so the copper's valuable. You were telling me before we started that money has also resulted in some standard sayings today, and one was "You're joshing me."
Yes, that came from a coin. I should have gone. Well, I'll go through and tell this story. The nickel wasn't invented until 1866. We had a half dime, and the first nickel would come out in 1870, and we're well accepted. The half dime was silver. It was about as big as your fingernail, and it was silver. In the old days, the money was supposed to be the money was the value, the money was in it. copper, even the copper penny. Well, when they changed over this, they made the penny smaller, and it was well accepted in 1866. The Civil War disrupted our money something terribly, and there were big changes during that era, and one of them was they issued a nickel. And they were so afraid that the nickel and the half dime, the nickel wouldn't be accepted because there's no value, intrinsic value in it. It's a, the silver was in the half dime. So they issued both at the same time. For many years, up to 1870 something, they issued a half dime and a nickel together, but the nickel was well accepted. And a small cent, people just loved the small cent versus that old large cent. So the token coin, like we have today with no intrinsic value, started with the Civil War business. And a part of it was this nickel was a shield nickel. They made it up till 1883, and the government redesigned the nickel in 83 with a Liberty, and the back was V. We call them V nickels, and V is a Roman numeral for 5. The first year they issued them, they made a gross error in the mint. They didn't put cent on it. There was a man in Philadelphia that was a deaf mute, and he couldn't talk or hear, and he would buy cigars. I'm familiar going to the cigar store. This new nickel come out. He had gold Wareham. Well, in those days we had gold coins as well as silver. And there was a $5 gold piece that was almost identical in size to a nickel, as the $5 gold piece, almost identical. All right, he'd take the nickel, had no cents on it, had V, which is 5. He'd gold wash it, lay it on the counter, and they give him a cigar and $4.95 in change. well, he would do this, and he finally, that people got onto this, and they took him in and arrested, and he was before the judge, and the lawyer speaking for him said he couldn't say anything, and he said it wasn't his fault. He didn't ask for $4.95 back, and the judge's ruling was, okay, we'll let you go, but don't ever come back here a second time with this trick, because we'll get you, because it's a fraud. Well, from that time on, Josh was the guy's name, and when you're tricking me, you're joshing me. That's the beginning of the story. You're joshing me.
So they painted the money. Sort of like today when some people will get the bright idea to run dollar bills or something through a copy machine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of the first counterfeiter, too. Yeah.
And some of these machines make awful nice copies. They make nice money. It's done.
Right. So you started in earnest collecting coins after the Monkey Man. What was the next step?
Well, I grew up in the town, and I went through the tills when Knox was a booming place. I went through many of the tills, and when I was in high school, I went into the bank. The bank would order their change in bags, and they could order with the option of either rolled or loose. The rolled cost them more money. So they would call me. I'd go in and roll the money for nothing, get to go through the thing. And in those days, you could find old coins were in circulation. They went through the Depression. Most of them are worn. It was sort of hard to find a nice new one. And that's part of collecting. You always upgrade. Mm-hmm. Upgrade. That means you find them less wear. The better the coin looks, the more it's worth, and it's more desirable. So if you go, even to this day, if I find a coin that has less circulation than one I've got in there, I switch it. You're always upgrading. Well, I went into the bank and went through the money that they got, everything they got in. I'd wrap up for them, take it back in the vault. I was like an employee. I graduated from high school. The bank president came to my father and said, would you like it, if he wants a job, send him up. I went to college, so I didn't become a banker. But I went through coins, millions literally, not a figure of speech. I went through a lot of coin in my time.
What fascinates you about the coins?
I don't know. You got interested in it. It just grew on me, I guess. I don't know. I've got to the point now that anything I need, the holes where the coins exist, there are some of these variations that are very expensive, and I can't afford $6,000, $8,000, $10,000 per coin, and they go that kind of money. So I started in my first old car was in 1970. I bought an old Model T and refurbished it and got it running. I drove it everywhere, and I got into old cars, and I was born with a gift of mechanics. I could make anything, do anything. So I have two old cars that I actually never existed. have a Model T and a Model A that we took a frame and we put the pieces together, and I ended up with a car, just like Johnny Cash's Cadillac.
Well, that's great. Well, you're listening to Clarion Connection. We'll talk more about Bob Wareham's coin collection and the other things that he collects after this commercial break.
The stars of NASCAR return to the Glen August 9th through 12th to fight for the trip to Gatorade Victory Lane on Watkins Glen International's historic road course. Bring the entire family and experience all the Glen has to offer while camping on site for the whole weekend. Get your tickets today for a chance to witness driving history August 9th through 12th as Tony Stewart, Carl Edwards, Marcus Ambrose, and all of NASCAR's greatest names try to repeat the drama of last year's season. Advanced ticket pricing and family packages available now. Log on to theglen.com today.
I'll have the grilled cheese, please.
Hot or cold?
Hot isn't grilled hot.
We're still looking to hire a cook for the summer season, so cold?
But your name is Hot Grilled Cheeseria.
Yeah, I can give you bread and cheese, and you can try grilling it on your exhaust manifold.
Don't be stuck without a chef or any other seasonal employee you need. Log on to ClarionVenangoHelpWanted.com.
You know, if you have heated seats, you could sit on it and have a panini.
Okay.
Post as many jobs as you like in minutes and use as many words as you want for one low price. ClarionVenangoHelpWanted.com. Long name, amazing results. Ms. Munchler, would you file these documents, please?
Oh, okay, after I take your temperature.
Why are you a receptionist?
Well, because I couldn't find a nursing job.
Then why didn't you go online and check out ClarionVenangoHelpWanted.com?
Okay, sir, take off your shirt and I'll take your blood pressure.
They have hundreds of local jobs, hospital, sales, IT. Oops, sorry. She's just...
Ooh, your blood pressure just went sky high.
Oh, boy.
Okay, I'm going to need a specimen. Take this...
Get out! ClarionVenangoHelpWanted.com. Long name, amazing results.
Summer fun begins at the Clarion County Fair. Fair Week is Sunday, July 22nd to Saturday, July the 28th. Bring the family for a day at the fair. The $8 admission price per person includes all rides, carnival, nightly shows, circus shows, and exhibits. On Saturday, July 28th, the last day of the fair, enjoy the antique tractor show and pull at 10 a.m. and the roaring action of the Full Pull Productions truck and tractor pulls starting at 7 in the grandstand. This message brought to you by Clarion County Community Bank, Haas Ricker Insurance, Clarion University, Veolia, Culligan of Brookville, Jefferson Paving, Earthworks, the Laurel Eye Clinic, Tom Sales and Service, and by Phases. For more information about the 2012 Clarion County Fair, keep it tuned to C93 FM or go to ClarionCountyFair.com, and we'll see you at the Clarion County Fair.
Welcome back to Clarion Connection. I'm Ron Wilshire and talking with Bob Wareham of Knox today about his coin collection. And we were talking about some of the very early coins. And over the break, someone handed me some information that penny and nickel coins were produced at a loss of $42.6 million, nearly double the 2009 loss of $22 million. That's just in 1 year. So the cost of a cent is way more than a cent these days.
Well, they always say liars figure, or figures don't lie, but liars figure. Well, this isn't the case even lying. It's all on how you count. The penny is by the mint, their figures, it's 2.4 cents to make 1 cent. So if we quit making pennies, we'd save a tremendous amount of money, right?
Right.
No, not really. Half the coins that are made for circulation, now the mint makes coins for collectors, and that gets to be another whole subject. They make, and some of it's expensive. They make silver rounds for bullion coins, all kinds of stuff. But talking about the cent through half dollars, well, half dollars don't circulate, but they're still making them. But the coins they make, half of all the coins they make for circulation are pennies. Now, if you stop making pennies, they're not going to turn out the lights. Mr. Moy was the head of the mint. He quit, and I don't even know the name of the man, just in recent history. This is late. But his salary, I'm sure, is a couple $100,000 a year. Well, pennies pay for half of that, right? So if you stop making pennies, that doesn't shut off the lights. They might save a little electric on the machine making the pennies, and they'll save the cost of making a penny. But the real cost of the penny can be figured the long way or the short way. It actually costs them 2.4, and they're not lying. But quitting making the penny doesn't mean you're going to save 2.4 cents a penny, because the fixed costs are shared by all the coins. So when the penny is no longer made, the fixed costs in making coins will have to be shared by fewer coins. They'll be made. That's the first step. The second problem is when they do away with the pennies, what will become the coin that will be the largest circulating piece? Then will be the nickel. And you just stated the nickel loses money also.
Right.
So when they quit making pennies, they'll lose more money on the nickel. They'll have to have more nickels because that will become the lowest changing piece. And the nickel will become the new, quote, penny.
Right.
So they'll be making more nickels, and they're losing money in the nickels, so they'll lose more money. Right?
Right. Maybe they'll start importing other countries' pennies or something. Outsource it.
Canada just quit making pennies, you know.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Yes, Canadian, they just announced that Canada is no longer making a penny. And I suppose it's a thing that's coming. There's no doubt about it. They're going to have to quit making pennies sooner or later. But as far as saving the money,
right.
It's not exactly what they say.
As you said earlier, sometimes it's just customers' preference, because when they had the large penny or cent piece before, you said it was so large because it was the copper, the value of it. But people were very glad when they did away with that because it was so large to carry around. Well, moving up in the money world, another kind of overlooked unit of money is the $2 bill. And I know you have a great story on that.
Yeah. Yes, this isn't too long ago. Somebody showed me this, and I was quite surprised. I've been in money all my life, and I know a lot about money, but I never knew this till just a couple of years ago. The $2 bill was printed for the bicentennial, and most homes have one laying around, although they're not circulated. But on the reverse of the $2 bill is a picture of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. And if you look very closely at the bill, there's a man standing there facing a guy in a chair, but if you look under the table, there's a pair of feet. Either there's a midget under the table, or this guy is real weirdly built, because the feet point towards you, looking at the paper, but his body faces the guy behind the desk, and they're not squared together. His legs are deformed.
Well, maybe some conservative talk radio like Rush can look into that. It sounds like a midget plot to infiltrate the United States government.
Maybe I'd like to take a little time and talk a little about the Civil War.
Sure. You had mentioned earlier that had a great impact on our money.
During the war, we went broke. Our times today, we're having money problems. It was even more serious. They really took it seriously. The paper bills that were backed by, we used to call them silver certificates at the Hill, and there was gold certificates. They were spendable as they were. But bills that were backed by notes, there was a worry that would go bankrupt. They actually discounted the bills 92 cents on the dollar. You would only get 92 cents for your dollar bill. And people, by the end of the Civil War, of course, the rebel money became worthless. And our money was suspect. And in those days, like I spoke, when you had your money in your hand, you had your money in your hand and a coin, so people decided maybe it'd be better to have the silver. So by the end of the Civil War, they started hoarding the silver, and especially the Rebs. It happened up here too, because our money was suspect, but the Rebs lost their money. Well, when the Civil War was over, they had buckets of money in homes, and there was no money in circulation. So they did many things. It was a tough time. And merchants solved the problem real easily, and it was rather ingenious. If you didn't have any pennies to give change in the store, what would you do? They went to the post office and bought a sheet of penny stamps and were passing postage stamps out for change. They didn't wear well, and so one of the first things a guy named Galt, and I have one of them, and they're very rare, Galt made an encased postage stamps. He put a mica thing in a little cup of nickel alloy and encased the postage stamp so it became like a coin. And they sold them to big merchants who would put their own name on the back of it in the metal part of it, and like a Kaufman's in Pittsburgh or a big stamp. But the local ones had plain, and mine was a plain. But that was a start. But the government they made 2-cent pieces. A lot of people have never seen them, but they made 2-cent pieces and 3-cent pieces. You couldn't keep up with the pennies, even they were saving the pennies as well as the silver. And they made the coins as fast as they could make and couldn't keep up. So it ended up, this postage business was an obvious way to make change. So the government made, the first thing they made was postage currency. They printed the first sheets they printed had perforations. You tore them out of a sheet like a postage stamp, and they made what they called fractional currency. And later issues, and I have a few of them, and they're very rare. You don't see them. They're not worth a whole whale of a lot of money, but they actually made little tiny bills, federal currency, 3, 5, 10, 15, 25, and 50 cents. And that was an emergency issue. Well, that emergency suddenly became to a halt because 10 years after the war is over, everybody's in peace and nobody's worried about money, and so they started bringing the buckets of money back out and spend them. So the opposite happened. They quit making a fractional currency and destroyed it all. It's long gone. And the lowest mintage penny was 1877 because they no longer needed to make them. They were coming out of the woodwork. So we had a fall in pennies in oil change, really, that you didn't have enough change. And by late 70s, the reverse was happening. It was all coming out, and you didn't need any more change.
So they put their own money into stamps and then reversed it. That's kind of interesting. It sounds a little bit like the old, I think in the Second World War, didn't they? They sold savings bond, but you could also buy the stamps and put them in books.
That was one way to buy. I have a little picture frame with that in. I have a war bond that I bought as a kid. I still have it. Mm-hmm. And it was bought with those stamps. We bought them in school. You buy a little stamp, and when you got $18 and some cents worth of those stamps in a little folder, you took them to the bank, and they would issue a war bond. And that's the way they sold war bonds to finance the war.
Do you have any advice for people that might be interested in coin collecting now?
Well, just buy a book and start. That's the way I started. You can buy a folder. Whitman was a famous name of making them folders. You buy a folder and put them in. And in today's world, actually, the nickel has been in circulation longer. The pennies have been changed, and it's hard to get. The old wheat cents are almost gone. Once in a while I find one, but nickels, you can still find the nickels because they haven't changed through the thing. So nickel's a good one to start with today's world.
Right. Now, the banks probably wouldn't welcome people volunteering to come in and wrap their money today.
I suppose not.
But that would have brought you an interesting perspective from back when you first started.
Yeah.
Anything else you wanted to cover today?
Well, I think I've got coins pretty well covered. But in 1972, collection was far enough along, it cost a great deal of money to buy the holes of the coins I didn't have to fill the holes. So I had a chance to buy a 1919 Model T Ford, and I started on Model Ts. And there was only one expert in Model Ts, and his name was Henry, and he made them wrong.
You fixed them? You fixed them?
Oh, I built 2 of them.
Uh-huh.
I've got a Model A and Model T that never existed. They were built by hand, from frame up, restored.
Well, Bob, I think we'll have to have you back on the show again. That's quite a teaser, though. But I understand that you have so many collections in Knox that you have various buildings in Knox full of stuff.
Yeah, a lot of Model T parts. I've got a lot of them.
Right. So putting Knox on the map for Model T parts, and perhaps we can talk about that the next time. I want to thank you for joining us today on Clarion Connection. Bob Wareham, coin collector extraordinaire from Knox, PA.